Everybody. My name is Lolly Leeson, and welcome to my kitchen in Marblehead. So excited everybody's here to do a little cooking and gardening with us and share our passion for good, fresh food. I am a wife, a mom, a chef, a health coach, and I'm an international marketing director with the Juice Plus Company and passionate about giving people tools and inspiration to take control of our health. And our company, the Juice Plus Company, provides solutions to our world's most pressing problems: food nutrient density and availability, and the distribution of farm fresh food. And our mission as a community is to inspire healthy living and take control of our own health. And we bring people into our living rooms and kitchens and share our knowledge of whole food nutrition. And we do this through a myriad of avenues, one with our Juice Plus solution of functional food, plant powders, and teaching people how to grow their own food in something called a tower garden. So we have a lot to unwrap tonight and have some fun. So I'm going to tell you why we're here with a little bit about Juice Plus, just so that you know what our products are. And we have a line of plant powders, which this is just a simple concept in nutrition. It bridges the gap between what we should be eating and what we actually are eating. We're supposed to be getting on average 9 to 13 servings, and it's just really hard to do that. So this company has figured out how to concentrate fruits and vegetables, all the good stuff, and put it into a capsule and a chewable for children, because only about 3% of kids today eat the recommended servings of fruits and vegetables. So I don't know about you, but I struggled with my kids to get them to eat a rainbow diet of fruits and vegetables. So this to me was manna from heaven when I found this. And then we have a what we call a complete protein powder, and we have some really great programs around working on the core four of nutrition, hydration, exercise, sleep. It's a 10-day reset program we have called Shred 10. And this is one of the tools that we use in our Shred 10 program. And lastly, we have what we call a plant-based omega. And it's a full spectrum omega with the not only the 3, but the 5, 6, 7, and 9 as well. And it's great. It's sustainable. We don't kill the fish. We go straight to the algae that the fish eat for that really nice omega. So that's really we have a very simple line of products, and they all just help to up level our health on a consistent basis. So that's a little bit about our product there. And now I'm going to talk about our menu tonight. So we are going to make a roasted asparagus salad with tangerine dressing, and a sauteed shrimp with carrot couscous and fresh chives. And I absolutely love all of these flavors when they're melded together. And it looks like this. I made this a few days ago. And these are small shrimp, but you can use any size shrimp that you have, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then to pair the wine with it, what really works well with the rub, because we're going to put a rub on the shrimp before we put it in to saute it. And we tried a dry Riesling. So the drier it is, the less sweet it is. And any kind of dry Riesling will work really well with this dish. So let's get started. And I want to tell you, this is my ode to Julia Child. And Julia Child, she was one of my heroes growing up. I would follow her always. I just thought she was so much fun and funny, and her little quip of her voice And she always said, she said, don't apologize for the food because your guests will think it's not all that good. So anyway, I've carried that always with me, and it's really good advice, because if something doesn't turn out exactly the way you think it's supposed to, don't tell your guests and don't apologize for the food, because they don't really know how it's supposed to taste. So, so what if you don't have couscous, or you get the Israeli couscous, or you get the Italian couscous, or you have brown rice. Don't apologize for it, because your guests really don't know what's supposed to go in it anyway. So anyway, let's get going with the asparagus. So what I'd like to do is we're going to roast the asparagus first, and we're going to pop that into the oven, because that has to cook at 400 for about 10 to 12 minutes. So if you haven't yet, let's turn on your oven to bake or to roast at 400. And then what I like to do with my asparagus here is, when I say trimmed and prep, what I mean by that, I don't know if you guys just simply cut your asparagus, but you don't even really have to use a knife to cut it, because if you just take it by the end here, it'll naturally come off right where it's supposed to from the stalk. So you just take it and snap it, and just snap it. It'll just go right where it's supposed to, like that. Okay. And you can, now if you're a fussy cook, sometimes I get fussy about this. If I have the time, I do like to scrape off a little bit of just the end of the asparagus, because this part tends to be a little bit tough, the skin of it. So I just like to take that off. But you don't have to. If you're saving time, it'll be perfectly delicious. But sometimes I just get anal about that and like to take that skin off. And then you're going to lay it in your pan, like a 13 by 9 roasting pan. So I'm just showing you here. Okay. And just sprinkle it with a little bit of sea salt. Just lightly sprinkle it, and then give it some good grinds of pepper. And a couple of other things. I mean, I always love just a little bit of red pepper if you like a little bit of bite to it. The other thing that I think is really delicious, I don't know, I'm a big fan of nutritional yeast. This one, I love it. It's got full of, B vitamins and protein and fiber. I love this stuff. I sprinkle it on my salads and soups. And when I was roasting the asparagus the other night, I just sprinkled some right on it, either before or after it comes out of the oven, and it just gives a really nice flavor to the asparagus. So, okay, so let's all do that now, and put a little bit of olive oil right over the top, maybe just like a tablespoon, and then just take your hands and just go, right around like this. That's what I do. Just kind of mix it. So it's all the oil is infused all around and mixed into the asparagus lightly. Doesn't have to be drenched at all. Just kind of a light coating of oil on all of the spears. Okay, so I'm going to get to that. And then we'll come back in a couple of minutes, and I'll introduce Chandelier.
Wally, I have a question about the asparagus. If you were to get like smaller asparagus that were thinner, would they be tough? Would the bottom of them be tough where you would need to still shave them?
No, if they're really skinny, if you get the skinny ones, I wouldn't bother. That'll just drive you crazy. Yeah, only if you've got the big fat ones and it's easy to do. But the skinny ones, I wouldn't take the time to take the peel off. I'm just giving a little shake, shake and bake. And then once your oven is at 400, you're going to pop it into your oven for about 10 minutes. And that's kind of what it looks like as it goes in the oven. Okay. My oven's not quite at 400. Okay, so I think what we're going to do now is let everybody prep their ingredients and get their oven tuned up, heated up. And I'm going to introduce Chandelier, and she's going to talk about the gardening part of our segment. And I'm going to come on over here and show you what I've got growing in my kitchen. And then Chandelier is going to tell you a little bit about our tower garden. So this is a tower garden, and Shenlon's going to tell you a little bit about it. We have ours right in our kitchen, and I love just going around and trimming the things that we need off. So tonight, like, we're using chives and some parsley and some cilantro from the tower. Okay, Shenlon, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Share my screen here. Okay, so we're going to talk about the tower garden here. And what we're going to talk about the tower garden, how the tower garden works, what and where you can grow using the tower garden, the uses of the tower garden, the benefits of having a tower garden, and then the overall cost of the tower garden. So the tower garden is a vertical aeroponic growing system that allows you to grow your fruits and your vegetables just about anywhere. And growing in a tower garden is ideal if you have a limited amount of space. The tower garden takes up approximately a 3-foot circumference. And because it's vertical, you can put it in the smallest spaces. And it takes the place of traditional gardening. Lots of people may not have a big garden. So the growing possibilities are endless in the tower garden. And you can grow anything from herbs, like Lolly's going to use some herbs from her tower garden this evening, to squash. Last year, I even grew a pumpkin in mine. And the only types of vegetables that you wouldn't grow in a tower garden would be root vegetables. And so the nice thing about the tower garden is it grows 3 times as fast, and it uses very little amount of water. The water is recycled, so it's using 1/10 of the water. There are 2 types of models for the tower garden. You've got the tower garden home and the tower garden flex. Now, what Lolly just showed you was the flex, or was the tower garden home, and I have the flex behind me. And the difference between the two is the tower garden home is kind of like this sleek little sexy thing. It's got a 13 gallon reservoir at the base, and it's just really curved dynamically, so it's more aesthetically pleasing when you've got it inside your house. It's also holds 16 full-size plants, and then you've got the microgreen ports at the top that hold another 16 plants. So the home is really a nice option I like the flex. I call the flex flexible because you can grow indoors or outdoors with it. And I'm not saying that you can't use the home version outdoors as well. But what I like about the flex is you've got 20-gallon reservoir at the bottom. And so it's nice because it's weighted and it won't move around as much if you've got strong winds that come up. And you can grow inside or out. The light kit that goes on the top of the home also goes on the top of the flex unit. The flex unit also is able to allow you to grow larger plants that are vining plants. It's got a support cage that attaches to it, and it also has a dolly that you can put underneath it so that you're able to move your plants around easily. Now, I get lots of questions about the lights on the Tower Garden. These lights are really bright, and it's nice because they are also low energy poles, and they allow you to have light on your plants, and your plants thrive with that light. I have my Tower Garden lights on about 16 hours a day, and what it does is the light's wattage is about 125 watts. And so very little pull on my utilities. And it's probably increased my utility bill, maybe, I don't know, $5 a month, if even that. So it's designed to run on the Tower Garden inside to simulate what happens outside. And here's a short video on how the Tower Garden works.
Tower Garden's state-of-the-art aeroponic vertical garden system uses both water and air to produce more colorful, better tasting, and incredibly nutritious fruits, vegetables, and herbs. Tower Garden has a 20-gallon reservoir at its base that stores the Tower Tonic nutrient solution. Developed by experts in plant and human nutrition, Tower Tonic Mineral Blend enables superior plant growth and better nutrition from your Tower Garden produce. The process begins once the seedlings have been placed in your Tower Garden. Here they will be nourished with Tower Tonic nutrient solution. Inside the reservoir is a small, low-wattage submersible pump. The pump pushes the nutrient solution up through the tower to the top. From there, the nutrient solution drips through the central tower using a special device that evenly cascades the solution over the exposed plant roots. On the journey down the tower, the nutrient solution feeds the roots and becomes highly oxygenated as it cascades gently down the reservoir. This process is continuous, providing fresh oxygen, water, and nutrients to the roots of the plants. This patented aeroponic process enables food crops to grow faster than they would in soil, so they can be harvested more often. And it makes Tower Garden the healthier, easier, smarter way to grow your produce.
Now, it's important to remember that there's always going to be challenges with gardening. I mean, I have a ground garden as well as a tower garden, and sometimes I kill my plants, not on purpose, but some things happen. But the tower garden does make it really, really easy to garden when you're comparing the two. It's easy to install. It's easy to maintain. All you're doing is putting the nutrients and the water in the reservoir, and you're just letting it go. Everything is fully automated. It's less climate sensitive. And again, you're not doing back-breaking work where you're bending over and pulling weeds and messing up your manicures. There's no digging or weeding or fortifying your soil. Everything is at optimum when you're using the tower garden. And you grow healthier produce. I mean, produce that's organic. I choose to use organic seeds in my tower garden. And it's nice because your produce is vine ripened and you're picking it at the peak of freshness. And that's what I really like about this. It tastes so different. If you, like for instance, my daughter came to visit one month last year, and we came downstairs and we cut lettuce for a salad, and she eats pretty much a vegetarian type diet. And the entire time she was eating it, she could not believe how different it tasted. She kept talking about how great the salad tasted. And that seems to be the overall consensus of everyone who has had produce off of my terrace garden. They talk about how great it tastes. And my mom, she said she'll never buy lettuce out of the store again after growing in her tower garden. And you can grow the tower garden anywhere. You can have it on your back deck if you just have a little deck area, or you could, mass produce if you have the space. Like Lolly and Bob, they have a greenhouse, and they'll have multiple tower gardens going in there. You can even do it in the classroom. I mean, you can use it in businesses who are in the food industry. They grow their produce and they supply the produce for their restaurants with this. So there's lots of options of growing with the tower garden. It just depends on the scale of how big you want to grow. Now, there are lots of benefits if you have children with the tower garden. It provides a means for educating your kids about nutrition, and it's been proven that there's increased academic performance for kids who are learning on how to take care of and grow plants on the tower garden. It's really a great STEM, science and math tool that you can use. It also teaches them to nurture plants, and it teaches personal responsibility of taking care of the plants. And it really is a boost of confidence in their pride of being able to provide something or to eat something that they physically grown themselves. And you don't have to be a kid for that to be the case. I feel that way all the time. When I look at my tower gardens, I'm really excited about what's growing on them and what I'm able to provide for my family on them. And we really eat a lot off of the tower garden. I have not had to buy lettuce since I got my tower garden last year. And it's just been great to just walk downstairs and be able to just pick up, pick whatever I need herb wise or lettuce wise and build a salad. It's an opportunity for you to bond as a family, and kids enjoy learning about the tower garden. They enjoy eating from the tower garden. And did you know that kids who grow their own vegetables tend to eat more vegetables? And you don't need a green thumb. All you need is to be able to make sure that reservoir is filled and just follow the directions on how much nutrients to put into the reservoir. And that's about it. Now, the tower garden makes gardening affordable. So I have this little chart here. If you were to go to the grocery store and you were to buy a bunch of Swiss chard, you may spend, I don't know, $4 or $5, and it doesn't even look that fantastic sometimes when you're in the store. And you can get on your tower garden with one plant, you end up with about 26 bunches per plant. So it really starts to add up your savings. Like I have some Swiss chard on my tower garden that's been on my tower garden for almost 6 months. And it keeps growing. So I just keep picking it. And we've been able to have Swiss chard at least every other week coming off of the tower garden, which is great. And so it's designed to work and last. And like I said, the tower garden behind me, I've had planted since November, and we've been pulling produce off of it daily. And it makes being able to eat fresh organic produce affordable. Now, the tower garden costs, if you were to go with the tower garden home with the lights model, you have an estimate here. It's about $2.65 a day. And I know the last time I went and got a Starbucks coffee, I spent more than that for the coffee in a day. Or if you just were going to go to the store and get organic lettuce, you would spend more for that one head of lettuce than you would for the cost of owning the tower garden. And the tower garden flex is $2.52 a day. So it just depends on, what you know, what your preference is, whether you strictly want to grow inside or if you want the flexibility of growing inside and outside, or you like the sleekness of the home model versus the stockiness of the flex. But that's it. So, you know, if you decide that you want a tower garden, I love growing in the tower garden. And had you asked me a year ago if I thought I would have one in my house, I'd be growing in my house, I would have probably thought you were crazy. But I'm telling you, I'm addicted. I think that this is the way that growing is going to be in the future. And people are looking for ways to be more sustainable and to have control over what they purchase and how they eat and what they eat. And the tower garden is one of those things where I think everybody should own one. So back to you, Lolly.
All right. Thank you, Chandela. That was awesome. I just wanted to show people our Malabar spinach because I think it's so funny. So here's a spinach plant called Malabar Spinach, and it's literally winding its way up the lights, and we're going to have to severely trim it. But I said, oh, no, leave it for the cooking class because I wanted people to see that it's like Cousin It and it's going everywhere. So it's amazing how these plants just climb everywhere. So you have to eat. All right, so we'll come back over to the kitchen. And I think your asparagus should be almost about ready. If it's not out of the oven yet, you can check it. It just should be a little bit sizzling on top. And you can take it out of the oven. And we're going to now do the couscous. That's really super easy to do. So the reason I like to flavor couscous is because it really doesn't have much flavor. And the carrot juice just gives it this beautiful orange color and it flavors it beautifully. So I am going to use a cup and a half, and you could use, you could use orange juice or anything that you want to use. I mean, you could use any kind of vegetable stock or chicken stock. I just like the sweetness of the carrot juice and how it looks. So you're going to turn on your stove and you're going to get this not to a rolling boil, but to a good sizzle. And we're going to add to the carrot juice a tablespoon of lemon juice and a little bit of salt. I think it's a half a teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to, at the end, I'm going to add some of the chives from the tower. And we will be adding at the end a tablespoon of olive oil. So I'm just going to measure, just sort of eyeball measure. Okay, so while that is almost getting to a boil, now we're going to go over here and we're going to start the dressing. And I'm going to check the asparagus to make sure I don't burn it. So that's looking pretty good. So this is what I want it to look like. I don't know if you guys can see there. It's just got this nice sizzle on it. And so I'm going to take that out now. Just going to let it sit on the counter. And then we're going to start the dressing. So the dressing, I have doubled the recipe on this. I've done it in, you don't have to double it. I doubled it already, so you're fine. So we're going to do 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. You can use regular sesame or a toasted sesame oil. 1 tablespoon of olive oil. 1 tablespoon of rice wine vinegar. 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. And we're going to do 1 clove of garlic. And I'm going to show you how I like to do my garlic. I just, instead of, I just go take it with the butt of the knife and I just smash it like that. And it just all comes apart easily. I just mince it that way. And then often what I'll do to really mince it further, I'll just like this, and just really put it into this nice paste. You don't want chunks of garlic in your raw dressing. There. Okay. So that's pretty much what is in here. And then I'm going to go back here. And my carrot juice is just starting to sizzle.
Lolly, I have a question in the room. Should they change the quantity or cooking time for quinoa instead of couscous?
Yes, the couscous. You'll have to read the back of the directions, but couscous will cook. That's more like a pasta, so that's going to cook more than this couscous will cook literally in 5 minutes. And I'm going to get it to a boil, and then we're going to put this couscous in the pot and stir it around. And I'm literally going to take it off the stove. I'm just going to turn the heat off and leave it covered there for 5 minutes, and it's going to cook on its own. So if you have Italian couscous, you're going to have to cook it a little bit longer, and it should be on the back of the package, how to cook it. But I believe you have to boil it in water, and that will probably take about 8 minutes.
And so this is quinoa.
Yeah, you could do quinoa, and that will take about 20 minutes as well. Okay. So that does cook longer than the Israeli couscous. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna put 1 cup in, and I'm just gonna stir it up as it's boiling here. Get it to a nice boil. And then I'm just going to turn off the stove, and that's it. And I'm just going to let it sit there. Okay. So now I've got my dressing. And I'm going to add some chives to the dressing. And taste it. Delicious. So you have this nice nutty flavor from the sesame oil, but it's not overpowering. It's just nice and subtle. Okay, so then to put this salad together, I'm going to get a platter. I'm going to take my asparagus, and I'm just going to lay it on the platter. If you want to serve the shrimp with the asparagus on the same platter, I would get a bigger platter. I'm just doing a small one here to show you the salad. But it makes a nice presentation if you put, the shrimp around with the asparagus too. This is the fun of it. You can do whatever you want. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, oops, did I forget I forgot the minced ginger. So I've got 2 teaspoons of minced grated ginger right here. And some people like me to do my little ginger trick because I love using ginger. I use it all the time. If you take the back of a spoon and you just start to peel off the outer skin of the ginger, that's the best tool to me. It comes right off, and then you can just grate it. It's a great way to take all of this off, and you get right into the little crannies, and it works really well.
That tip was a game changer for me with the ginger.
Excellent. Yeah, I like that one too. So I'm going to put half of the, okay, there we go. All right, so we're all in there. All right, so I'm going to read this again. We've got the sesame oil, tablespoon of olive oil, tablespoon of rice wine vinegar, a teaspoon of lemon juice, a clove of garlic minced, 2 teaspoons minced grated ginger, 2 tablespoons of chopped chives, and a pinch of sea salt. Okay, so I'm going to pour half of this dressing, not all of it, only half of it. Okay, so I've got a little over, just about a half a cup here. I'm just going to put a little bit of this dressing on, half of it. So I've got almost about a quarter of a cup left. Okay. And then I'm going to put some peanut. Now you can use any kind of nut you want. I like to use, I've got peanuts and cashews here. But you know, you can use whatever nut that you like. And I just want to sprinkle some nuts right on the top. And then the last thing that I like to do, make a little orange zest. So I have a zester here and a tangerine, and I'm just going to take my zester, and it just looks so pretty having that zest, you know, right on the top of the asparagus. Makes for a nice presentation. So there you go. There's your beautiful asparagus salad, all ready to go. So we're going to put that aside, and then I'm going to come over. How are people? I'll maybe check in, Chandelier, and see how people are doing. Am I going too fast, or do people have questions before we continue?
I've had a couple comments. We've had some substitutions. Someone is using millet, and another person is using farro.
Okay.
Which those both sound like really great substitutes for grain. Somebody said you're going a little fast.
Okay. Okay. That's good.
And the tip on the ginger was good. And I like the little lemon or the orange zester. That was really a neat little garnish to put on the top of there. It really makes it really pretty.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. I'm using broccoli and walnuts. That's great. Good. Improvise is good. Okay. So let's see. I'll just talk about spices while people are catching up. I'll just chat a little bit about these spices. So I love this rub. The rub that I gave you guys, it was, 3/4 of a teaspoon of onion powder, garlic powder, cumin, I think it was paprika. And I make a lot, when I make this rub, I make a lot of it. Like I'll quadruple the recipe because I love always to have these rubs on hand for different things. So this rub will be wonderful on pork, on swordfish, on chicken. I mean, it really is a universal rub that you can use on a lot of things. So, you have that recipe, and I would just, quadruple it and just always have it on hand. So that's what I did with this. So the ingredients for that were, for the rub, hold on a second. Okay, so it was a half a teaspoon of sea salt, 3/4 of a teaspoon paprika or smoked paprika, 3/4 of a teaspoon of garlic powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of onion powder. And I didn't have onion powder, so I actually used curry powder instead. And it was delicious. I made it the other day. I thought I had onion powder, but I didn't. So I substituted with the curry. And 3/4 of a teaspoon of cumin. And so that is the rub. And so what
Lolly, I have a question in the room. Cindy's using quinoa, and she wants to know if she needs to add more liquid for the quinoa. They used a cup.
That's good. So a cup of quinoa would be to almost a scant 2 cups of liquid. Yep.
Yeah, normally I'll do a cup and a quarter of quinoa and 2 cups of liquid.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, it depends on if you like it dry,
right,
or you like it a little bit wet.
Right.
I find if I do a little under, then it doesn't get mushy.
Right. And I do mine in a pressure cooker, so it takes about 5 minutes.
Right.
Another question. What can you substitute the paprika for?
Paprika. You could do red, like a little bit of red pepper.
Okay.
But not like hot red pepper, not like the really spicy red pepper, like chili, like a chili powder, like a mild chili powder. You could substitute if you didn't have paprika.
Okay. Now on your rub recipe that you had, are there like, can you put too much rub on it? I mean,
Yep. So yes. So that I'm going to talk about that.
Okay.
So I use just a little bit, and I'll show you kind of how I do it. In fact, I can do that now with you. So we'll talk about the shrimp. Now, some people might have smaller shrimp, and some people might have bigger shrimp. I've done it both ways. It's both delicious. When I made it the other day, I had the bigger shrimp, and a lot of times you can get it peeled and deveined, which is really nice. And I like to just cut it down the middle so that it almost is like butterflied, because I think it absorbs a lot of the flavors of the sauce a lot better when it's got that texture on it, and it cooks faster as well.
No, what if they're vegetarian and they want to substitute? What could they use as a substitute for their protein?
Yep, they could use tofu. It would be delicious with tofu.
Okay.
It would work, and I think it would work with the rub as well. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to turn my stove on. Now, if you've got a good saute pan, I love my cast iron pan that I use. But if you've just got a good, good saute pan, that's certainly good enough. So I've got my shrimp, and I've dried it out, so it's not, it's not wet. It's been defrosted, and I put it on a paper towel just to make sure, that it dries out a little bit. That it's not. I don't want it wet when it goes into the pan, because I want to get a nice browning, a nice searing on the shrimp. So I'm going to put my shrimp in my bowl. Now, the rub, I'm going to take about a teaspoon, I think. For all of this, I'm just going to start with 1 teaspoon. This is about, I would say, about a pound of shrimp that I've got here. And I don't want to overwhelm the shrimp, but I just want to sort of lightly coat it. So I'm just going to sprinkle it in here, because I'd rather do less than more, because I want to see how it's going to. Yeah, so I'm just going to mix it all in here so it's all covered. And you can always add more spice later once it's cooked. And we like things fairly spicy, but I know there's some, people that don't like things terribly spicy. I'm just going to add a teeny bit more. That's perfect. Okay. So now I'm going to get my pan over here. I want it to be pretty hot when my shrimp goes in there. I want to get a nice searing. So I'm going to do about a tablespoon of oil. One way you know that your pan is sizzling and ready to put the meat in is if you take a little bit of water and you flick it in the pan and it sizzles, then you know that the meat is ready to go in. So it's not quite ready yet. Okay, so we've got our half of our dressing still, and we've got our shrimp. Okay, that's just a nice sizzle. So I'm going to lay these shrimp in there. I don't want to crowd the pan. You want to make sure that there's a little bit of room between each one. You really want them to brown. Shrimp cook really fast. I think one of the things that people do is they cook the shrimp too much. And you'll see that I'm going to turn the up as soon as it gets starting here. I'm going to turn the pan down, the heat down. I don't want it to cook high the whole time.
Wally, how do you know when you're overcooking your shrimp?
You know, you can, if this is only going to take literally 2 minutes aside to cook. And so now I'm going to turn the stove down to like a medium low. So I can see already this is time to turn it. You know, nice, when it's nice and browned on one side. So it's, you know, the trick with cooking, if you want to have it hot when it goes in, because you want to seal in the flavors, but you don't want to continue to cook it so high that you're cooking it too fast on too high a heat.
I find with shrimp that if it's overcooked, it's really tough. It's like rubbery.
Exactly.
Okay, how much rub did you put on that shrimp?
1 teaspoon. You can do more if you like it hotter, but for about a pound of shrimp, I would do a teaspoon and just have it just lightly coated. And as I said, you can always add more later. Okay. Okay, I'm taking these off now.
Lolly, what cooking oil, what type of cooking oil are you using? Olive oil?
I'm using olive oil.
Extra virgin, just
You can use any regular, just regular olive oil is fine. You don't need to use extra virgin for sauteing.
okay. Is it organic or?
I use the Bragg's organic, the Bragg's olive oil. This is the one I use. I like this company.
Okay.
And you can get it at, you know, pretty much any supermarket has that olive oil.
Somebody said their mother has the same plates that you have.
Oh, is that right? Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so here's the fun about the flavor and deglazing the pan. So what I'm gonna do is, I don't want, you know, the fat that's in here. So I'm just gonna sort of blot this up a little bit. And I'm gonna take the rest of the dressing and put it in here. And you'll see this soaks up all these nice bits from the shrimp. I don't need to cook it too much. Just gonna boil it down. You can have fun here. You could add a little wine or, you know, tequila or whatever you want to add in there. It'll be delicious. Okay, so now I've taken this off the heat. I've turned off the heat because I don't want my shrimp to cook anymore, but I just wanted to boil down and deglaze this sauce. So you'll see, I think you can see that there. Okay, and then I'm going to add the shrimp back into the pan. Okay, and I'm just going to stir that around. Okay, and I'm just going to let that sit. Okay, so now we're going to go to our couscous. How's everybody doing? Is it everybody catching up a little bit or?
I don't have any comments that you're going too fast still.
Okay, going too fast. All right.
No, I don't have any comments that say you're going too fast.
Oh, good. Okay. Excellent. Okay. So now we have the couscous, and that's, you know, you just take a fork is really what you do with this, and it's done. And you don't want to take a spoon. Couscous is very delicate. And so if you just scrape a fork, just be patient and just scrape your fork all around.
Everybody's still cooking their shrimp.
They are. Okay, great. Cook
The
away.
couscous is beautiful though. Gosh, look at how vibrant that is.
Not pretty. So now here's a couple of tips. And I didn't put this in the recipe, but I just saw these yesterday at Whole Foods and I couldn't resist because I thought, oh, these pomegranates would be so pretty.
Oh yeah.
So delicious and pretty in the couscous. And this is a really beautiful thing to do around Christmas time because it makes such, with the chives in here and the pomegranates, it makes just the most beautiful presentation. So I just put a few little pomegranates in there and some chives. And then I'm going to take one of my tablespoon of olive oil, and I'm just going to slowly drizzle that on top. And I'm just going to mix this up.
So you're saying if you gently just rake that fork back and forth over there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. You don't want to take a big old honking spoon and try to mix it all up because you'll have a big mess.
Okay.
Yeah. It just takes, you know, just a minute to go around and see, get this nice,
Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
now just falls apart. So now when everybody's catching up, I'm just gonna plate this and make the presentation so that people can see it.
Lolly, how high was your pan when you were deglazing your dress with the dressing?
I took once I took the shrimp out, I turned the heat up to medium high because I wanted the you know, the juice to deglaze,
Okay.
to boil down, but it doesn't take long. I mean, it only takes like 30 seconds.
And then you turned the heat off and then put the shrimp in.
Correct. Yeah, because I didn't want the shrimp to cook anymore. Mhm. I'm gonna plate this. Put some asparagus salad in the middle. Couple of grinds of pepper. Always your parsley quite sparsely. I always say, my mother said, if you were to fly to the moon, what would you take with you? And I always said, she always said, parsley, butter, and lemon. Three standard cooking ingredients.
And I'm sure that parsley smells so good. I know that when I pick parsley off my tower garden, it's so pungent. The smells for the herbs are so strong. It's nice.
Yeah. So there you have it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's just got pretty, you know, pretty flavors to it, and it's great warm, or it's be delicious at room temperature. And it's great for leftovers.
Awesome.
Yeah. And again, the dry Riesling wine, we tried this with a Chardonnay, and it wasn't nearly, it just didn't work at all. And then we tried it with the dry Riesling, and it just popped.
Yeah, I think the sweetness from the carrots in the couscous is really what sets that dry Riesling off. Very nice.
So, as Julia says, bon appetit. So if you want to stop the recording, maybe we could take some questions and open it up, see how people are